So as promised, here's the pre-flight check of the Turbo Commander 690 Bravo, the external checks. We're going to start with the door first. The door has a seal because the airplane is pressurized. I want to make sure that the seal is intact and doesn't have any holes in it, been pinched. You can see our door's been modified from the stock 690 Bravo in order to allow us to open it up completely, which allows us to put patients in we wouldn't otherwise be able to with the stock door. I was told that modification costs about $18,000. So we're checking out the door. You can see that seatbelt mechanism, that's part of the modification. And then on the outside there, that little door stop essentially protects the fuselage from the door handle. That's part of the mod as well. Checking our temperature probe. Checking the windshield, making sure it's not cracked. Checking our pitot tube. That's the pilot's co-pilot has one as well. And moving forward to the front of the aircraft, the radome, make sure it's not cracked. And we're checking the nose wheel, checking the tire, checking the nose wheel doors, gear doors. And you can see those red toe limits. You can't exceed those or you're going to do damage. We're also looking underneath, and this picture shows you the castellated nuts and cotter pins that we're looking for to make sure your gear doesn't fall off. That's important. Move around to the right side of the aircraft. There's the co-pilot's pitot tube. Check in the windshield, and that's the heating element for the windshield. When it's on high, you get about a 6-inch band, and when it's on low, you get about an 8-inch band. But it warps the or distorts the view. Here we're checking the static port and the emergency exit, which goes directly into the right engine prop. So you got to be careful when you're getting out. I would check the fuel. Use a quarter or something to open up the fuel cap. Not really much to see inside, but there is a little flapper valve that you got to make sure is has come completely up and is flush. Else that locking mechanism will not lock, and when you're in flight you could start to siphon fuel out of the tank. Now the cool thing about the Garretts is they'll burn anything, any type of jet fuel, and even 100 low lead. So the FBO is not going to kill you if they put 100 low lead in there. Now there are some limitations to what you can do with 100 low lead. We don't particularly burn 100 low lead. We prefer not to. Most of the time we're using Jet A negative because we're in Arizona. But every now and then, now that's a good picture of the flapper valve. You can see it's actually open there. We want to make sure that's seated and that the locking mechanism goes into the center of that internal cap. Coming around to the front of the Garrett, that's the smile because it looks like a cartoon smile. Slowly, well, right now we're looking at the electric heating elements for the prop, anti-ice, and then we're slowly turning the prop in a counterclockwise from the pilot's perspective, and we're looking at that first stage compressor, and I'm checking out the blades and making sure we don't have any big chunks missing from the compressor blades. You also want to make sure that inside the smile there, you want to make sure that you don't have any chipping paint or anything that's going to get ingested into the engine. They're checking the prop out. This prop probably could use some dressing at this point. Getting pretty gnarly. And when we turn the prop, we're listening for any unusual sounds. Remember that Garrett is a geared engine. These are the TP 331-5s. It's a geared engine, so when you're moving the prop, you're moving the entire engine, compressor, turbine. So if you hear something doesn't sound right, probably not right. Moving around, this is where we check the oil for the Garrett, and we like to keep it right at the bottom of the chain, not so much full, because if you put it to full, it's going to spit out what it doesn't like, and it's going to make a huge mess that you're going to have to end up cleaning up. We use turbo oil 2380 from Eastman. These things do not go through oil at all. Checking the boots, checking our stall indicator. That's also heated. It's got a heating element on it. Make sure there's no pinholes in our boots, our wing boots. And that's our heated fuel vent. That's what one looks like when it's taken apart. And that has some type of thermostat that ensures it does not come on unless it's below 40. And that's our landing light, which actually will come out. But we don't normally use it, like I said, during the acceptance check. And then in the back, the basic stuff, checking static wicks, checking all connections to the ailerons. Standard general aviation pre-flight 101 stuff. You come to the back of the Garrett, looking in the exhaust there, and you can actually see the third stage turbine. This is a great picture of a dissected 331. Shows you the 3 stages. They go up into gear well. Not much to see in the right gear well. There's not any accessories in this particular wheel well. And we're checking the strut, checking the brakes, disc brakes, hydraulic. And we got lights on each gear, which is nice because that is our primary landing light. And if we don't see those, then we probably don't have the gear down. And these bungees will actually lock the gear down when it's over center. And we want to rotate those. That's oil cooler, checking the oil cooler, and checking the vents for the engine. You got 3 tubes there. The big one is for oil, hydraulic, and I don't remember what the third one is. Checking the gear. Everything looks good. Tire looks good. No flat spots. We've got plenty of tread. Then we move to the back of the aircraft and check out our flaps. See, the flaps are pretty small on this airplane. And more static ports. And then back here in this particular access panel is the oxygen. And we want to make sure the oxygen is 1800 psi is what we prefer to see in there, and that's going to supply oxygen to the pilot and the co-pilot if for some reason you have a loss in pressurization. And then to the back, the empennage, checking the boots. So we've got boots on the horizontal stabilizer and the vertical stabilizer. Checking nuts, and there's our trim tab for the elevator. We have a huge vertical stabilizer and rudder, and believe me, you can feel it when it is windy. It feels like somebody is on those pedals with you. A gorilla is in the right seat on the pedals fighting you. Part of the reason, and you don't see it here, but we put a gust lock in the rudder in order to protect it when it's real windy, because it can do some damage. The maintenance guys on the field that work on Turbo Commanders showed one of our other pilots some of the damage that can go unseen by not using the rudder gust lock. More static ports. And then here is where we have the environmental system. And there's a turbine in there, cooling turbine, and that requires oil as well. So this is where you check it. And you just want to make sure the very bottom is wet. You don't want to overfill it. There is all kinds of good stuff back there that we can discuss in a later video, but for the most part, that's what I'm looking for, and then I'm just checking to make sure nothing is out of the ordinary. Okay, there's your external power. And this is the cargo compartment where we keep most of our stuff. Now the cargo compartment is not pressurized, so there's no heating. So you don't want to put stuff back there. We tell the medics and stuff not to put like LCDs and stuff back there, LCD screens, because they can get damaged when it's really, really cold. And there's the gust lock that should be in the back of the rudder. So we'll go ahead and put that in. And you can see it slides right in. So if you were to somehow forget it, the prop wash, when you brought those Garretts up to full power, is going to blow that thing right out. Now, you should have checked your rudder and your controls anyways, so shame on you, but it shouldn't cause a catastrophic incident. Now we're in the left wheel well, and this is where we have a lot of additional equipment. That particular gauge right there is for the nitrogen, which will assist in bringing the gear down along with hydraulics, and will also in a hydraulic failure incident allow the gear to come down. We're just shining a light on the hydraulic reservoir, and the that's the up lock that you're looking at right there. So when the gear depresses that switch, and we get 3 of those, then we get the gear unsafe light goes out. So now we will check the hydraulic reservoir to ensure we have enough hydraulic fluid. Rather large tank. Have to go back and check and see what the total capacity of that tank is. There's the hydraulic fluid that we use. And this is a great shot of the dipstick. And then from there, kind of carbon copy, checking the other wing, making sure all parts and pieces are accounted for. Nothing's missing. Another heater. We actually had one of these heaters fail on us in icing conditions, and it built up ice rather quickly, about an inch forward of that vent. Pretty amazing. Okay, working our way back to the number 1 engine. Same deal here. Checking our inlet. That was our generator inlet. Checking our first stage compressor blades. Checking our smile. Making sure we don't have any chipped paint about to go into or a gasket, rubber gasket sticking out. That's going to get ingested. Listening for any sounds that are out of the ordinary. And we're checking, once again, checking the oil. Completely closed system for the oil. Never comes in contact with any combustion areas. So oil looks like honey at 800 hours, unlike a traditional reciprocating engine. Now we're looking at the squat switch. Now this squat switch does not have anything to do with the gear. It actually will depressurize the airplane if you should land with it pressurized. Once the squat switch is engaged, it will dump any cabin pressure. Checking our bungee cords, checking our tires, checking our brakes, checking our hydraulic lines. I don't know if the condenser microphone is picking up that snoring, but unfortunately that's my pug, who has to be with me at all times, and if I put him out of the room, he'll cry like a baby. So he's just snoring away, and I apologize for that distraction. Checking our gear doors. And that is pretty much it. Does not take very long to go through that process. 9 times out of 10, everything's the way it's supposed to be. And that one time it's not, that's why we do pre-flights. Now I'm just taking a step back, looking at the airplane, making sure it's sitting proud and it's not canted off to one side. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the pre-flight of the Turbo Commander 690 Bravo. Again, we're going to have tons and tons of videos. I got lots and lots of great ideas and nothing but time to put this stuff together. So if you enjoy it, subscribe, because there's going to be plenty more of the Turbo Commander. Till next time, fly safe.